Ellsworth brought the work of art that would become Austin to a very high degree of completion in the 1980s, when he first worked with Douglas Kramer, who had asked Ellsworth to create a chapel for his vineyard out in California. Ellsworth envisioned the building with thin cast concrete walls, possibly a stuccoed surface for California, one monumental Ellsworth Kelly sculpture.
Ellsworth Kelly was looking for a home for this piece, and was looking for a home that would construct it in the right place, treat it with the right respect, an institution that would carry out his wishes.
When the project regained momentum at the Blanton 25 years later, we needed an architect of record to take those blueprints from the 1980s and to translate them into a functioning public building that was up to code for today's standards, up to code for a university public campus, that was a work of art that would be accessioned in the museum. We hired Overland Partners as the architects and Lindbeck Group as the builders. They were essential, working alongside the museum and the studio and with Jack Shear to try to figure out how to build what Ellsworth was envisioning.
Okay, we get what the artist is trying to do, but can we actually pull this off? How do we do this and make all of those things that normally support a building, structure, air, light, just completely disappear? How thin could we make it and still support those walls?
We knew that the building would need to have air conditioning since this is Texas. We also needed to think about other materials for the cladding of the building. I realized that our role at the Blanton was to ensure that Ellsworth's vision was always being captured in our decision making. So I led a process that involved, of course, the architects and the builders, but staff from the museum, stakeholders from the university, consultants and specialists when needed. We'd meet for hours every week to talk through the design challenges and possible solutions. They would send us sketches and renderings, and then we would send them along to the Kelly studio, and I'd hear back on what Ellsworth had selected or whether he had pushed us into a different direction.
Ellsworth made all the decisions about the glass, the structure, picked all of the materials, picked the outside stone.
As an artist who thinks about the whole wall, not just his work, he was as interested in that spacing, that positioning, that height above the floor, all of those became absolutely critical decisions for Ellsworth to be a part of.
It took about 6 months to go through this very detailed process to ensure that we were recording everything Ellsworth had envisioned and he had approved. We captured that in a book that we called The Artist Agreement. It was our roadmap to what we were going to build. So in late December 2015, I called the studio to let Ellsworth know that the process was complete, that the book documenting all his decisions, this artist agreement, was going to be sent to him in the new year just to have in his archive. He knew that we were moving full steam ahead, that construction was starting. Ellsworth knew the building was happening, and it was being realized just as he designed it. That was the last time I spoke to him. He passed away 8 days later.
It really becomes apparent in his work that there is a quality there that is otherworldly. It's this unique ability of Ellsworth to bring together shape and form and color that is just beautiful.
When we opened the building, I really wanted to walk through it with Ellsworth, to see it next to him. I also knew that this was exactly what he envisioned. The scale of the building, the way the lights played through the colored windows. And you can see that this was his legacy. This was an artist who'd built his most monumental masterpiece.
He was interested in the experience that people were going to have with the work and in the space. He talked a lot about it as a place of joy, of celebration.